Welcome back to Kids to College. We're going to check in on our gummy bears. Now, I know I told you to wait a couple of hours just to see what would happen. However, I have let roughly an hour and a half go by, and I'm already seeing significant changes. So I can only imagine how big our bears are going to get in just a couple of hours. So I'm going to show you what I have so far, and I will tilt the camera down. So we have our control gummy bear right here. Normal size gummy bear. He's our red little guy, so we're going to put him down here. The yellow was our saturated salt water, and he's kind of stuck to the bottom, but it's almost as if he's shrunk a little bit, and he's very, very slimy. Very slimy. But it's almost as if he has shrunk. So we're going to put him down here next to our other bear. And now the one that has just been sitting in plain water. And now this is just in an hour and a half, and it's very slippery, that it's gone from this, our control, to this size. We already see a significant difference in the size. Now, why do you think that is? I know we talked a little bit, and I wanted you to come up with your hypothesis of which one you thought would get bigger. Did you think it would be the one with salt? Did you think that it was going to be the one with plain water? So let's get a nice and tight view there so you can see that. So I'm going to tell you the science behind this, okay? So in order to make gummy bears, you have sugar, gelatin, so like Jell-O, and flavoring, whatever that flavor might be, and they're dissolved in warm water, okay? And it becomes a warm water solution. So as it cools, water leaves the gelatin and the bear becomes firm but chewy. Not all the water leaves it, because if it did, it would be rock hard and we wouldn't be able to eat it. So it's this little bit of water that makes the gummy bears act as a solution of water, one with a lot of sugar that's dissolved in it. So the plain water in the bowl, which was our largest one, our green bear here, he had very little dissolve in it. And so we learned from that egg experiment, the one with the dissolved shell, that different solutions of water will want to balance each other out. Now, that is called a certain scientific process. The plain water, with very little dissolved in it, will move towards the solution of water with a lot of dissolved in it, which is the gummy bear. This movement of a solvent from one of a lower concentration to a higher concentration is called osmosis. You may have heard that word before. The force behind that movement of water is called osmotic pressure. So in the bowl with the salt water, we tried to balance the amount of stuff, the salt, that was dissolved in the water with the amount of sugar dissolved in the gummy bear. That's what we were talking about with the egg, with water wanting to balance itself out. So we see that since our gummy bear placed in the salt water did expand a little bit, except it really didn't. It kind of broke it down, which tells us that it was still trying to balance out the amount of sugar and the amount of salt that was in it. And a lot of people have found when they've done this that their gummy bear with salt does get a little bigger. However, mine did not. It's almost as if the salt started to eat away at it. Now that can happen if I made my saturated salt water too salty. So maybe we want to be careful and keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop my control, my salt water bear, back in the salt water, and my water bear back in the regular, and I'm going to leave it for about another hour and a half. And then I want to see just how big we can get that gummy bear to be without it breaking apart. So I will see you again in just a little bit. Have a great afternoon.